For the longest time, my Twitter bio was the guy in Mr. Beast videos. And then about a year and a half ago, it turned into sometimes I'm in Mr. Beast videos.
Oh, so the guy part was removed?
It was, yeah.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So there's been some drama on X over the last couple of days involving a gamer and one of Mr. Beast's sidekicks. So in case you don't know who he is, Mr. Beast is basically the biggest YouTuber with 289 million subscribers, views that are out of this world.
10 facts about Mr. Beast you might not know. His full name is Jimmy Donaldson. He was born on May 7th, 1998. He posted his first video in 2012 at the age of 13. His original username was Mr. Beast 6000. He dropped out of East Carolina University to pursue YouTube full-time. He's originally from Wichita, Kansas. He has a team of more than 30 people that help look after the content and businesses. He also suffers from Crohn's disease. By 2018, he'd given away over $1 million. And his first viral video was him counting to 100,000, and it took him over 44 hours.
Mr. Beast recently turned down a $1 billion offer for his YouTube channel. He said maybe if it was 10 or 20 billion, I'd even consider it. Do you think that he made a bad call?
Let's do some basic math. His most viewed video is 293 million views. That's the $456,000 Squid Game Super Bowl commercial. You do 30 seconds. What are you paying? $5.2 million. And Super Bowl gets roughly 100 million views. He's got total 17 billion views. 17 billion views divided by 100 million, because that's what Super Bowl claims. So that's 170 times 5 million bucks. His one channel alone has generated a minimum of $850 million, and I'm calculating only one commercial. And then added to all the other channels that he has, I think he's right, 10 to 20 billion dollars is the right number.
So they do fun videos that involve challenges, travel, doing humanitarian type of work, you know, that sort of thing. And it's considered good, wholesome viewing. So there are a lot of children who follow his channel. However, things took a sinister turn when one of Mr. Beast's, you know, co-hosts or whatever, sidekicks, came out as trans. And of course, it had people asking, what does this mean in terms of the people who view Mr. Beast content? Does that now mean that we're going to see millions of children introduced to, you know, gender ideology?
Tyson, longtime Mr. Beast collaborator, well, he sparked a media frenzy when he showed up at a Nickelodeon award show looking a little bit different. Now, fans, they were quick to post comparison photos to social media, like Twitter, where one even got a reply from Chris himself, who stated, HRT, and it's only been 2 months.
People are canceling Chris from Mr. Beast for transitioning. For those that don't know, Chris from Mr. Beast is transitioning from male to female. He used to look like this, but now after starting his transition, he looks like this. He also recently tweeted out that he is on HRT, or hormone replacement therapy. Well, since he tweeted that, people have started to cancel him for his transition. Basically, people are upset that he used to be a masculine family man, but now they're saying that his transition has destroyed his family, and they're essentially accusing Chris of betraying his wife and kid. Now, obviously, this is a very complicated situation for Chris. But what do y'all think of this?
And soon after coming out as trans, a divorce was announced.
Here's what actually happened to Mr. Beast Chris's ex-wife, Katie. After coming out as a trans woman and changing the name and pronounces, Chris also revealed that she separated from her wife and child. That caused a lot of hateful comments from Mr. Beast's subscribers, and Katie had to close the comments in her social media accounts. Most of the people are mad at Chris and call Katie a victim of a bad husband who ruined her life. After Chris and Katie divorced, Chris left their house and moved to another place, while Katie and their son Tucker stayed at the same house. Even though Katie has never publicly supported Chris, she said that Katie was supporting her all the time.
Well, 4 years my wife, 3 years my girlfriend. But it's like she was there the whole way. She was supportive in her own way. We were both figuring it out.
Recently, Katie deactivated their son's Tucker Instagram account. In the last photo posted on her Instagram, she turned 28 years old, and according to her friends, she's actually being a great mother.
And people's initial thoughts were mixed. Obviously, you had people saying this was stunning and brave. You've come out, you're your true, authentic self now. Congratulations. And of course, we had people saying that the reality is he has abandoned his wife and child so he could live out this fantasy of being a woman. And what does this mean in terms of him being a father, the example he's setting for his child? Is the child going to be confused? What effect is this going to have on his son? This is a father of a young boy. And how is this going to affect how he raises his son? Is he still going to be the dad, or is he going to claim to be the second mum? You know, how does this work? And Chris, or now Ava, basically doubled down and said that I want to be happy. This is what I need to do to be happy, to be who I am. And that's the best thing I can do for my child, is be who I truly am. You know, that sort of thing. You know how people talk when it comes to this sort of thing. And the Mr. Beast episodes carried on as normal. You see Chris or Ava in the videos dressed up as a woman. And, you know, they don't really focus on that per se. And Mr. Beast has come out in support of Chris multiple times. And apparently this was something that was a long time coming.
I told Jimmy 7 years ago, I've been dressing up as a woman since I was like 6 years old. I walked out of my bedroom and it was kind of one of those fully dressed up.
But you walked out, Jimmy sees you.
Yeah.
And
he goes, we can talk about this if you want. And I was like, no. Jimmy is really good about, if you don't want him to bring something up, he'll never mention it ever again.
So you've changed the way you present, you've changed the name and the things that you prefer people to call you, you've changed your pronouns. Have you changed your voice? Because I know that that's something that trans people also work toward.
I am working on it. I'm gonna say a sentence, but I'll kind of also show you like the process I have to do. Here it goes. Hey Anthony, congratulations on buying Smosh.
So yeah, Mr. Beast stands by Chris. So that was over a year ago, I believe, or coming up to a year. And now this story has come to the forefront again because certain people are calling out Chris and saying that you were wrong. So the main person to call him out recently is gamer Nickmercs. Now, incidentally, Nick was cancelled by Call of Duty last year because he, you know, was streaming and said something about, you know, he thinks people can live how they want, but leave the kids out of it. He said something to that effect. And they removed his skin, I believe it's called, and, you know, everything related to his character. They removed it from Call of Duty and basically tried to cancel him. But thankfully, people defended him and said, you know, remove my skin too. Other gamers came forward and said, you can remove my stuff as well then. And people agreed with what he said and called it basic common sense. Leave the kids out of it. So Nickmerc criticised Tyson on X with the following post. You should be ashamed of yourself, leaving behind your wife and child to play pretend. One day you'll wake up and realise what you've done.
Yo, checking in. Look, I opened Twitter. Bunch of my mentions are he, they, she, hey, they. I identify as a helicopter. God damn it. And I seen the couple tweets about the doc. I'm as taken back as a lot of you guys are, okay? But the fact remains that these are some crazy accusations. Crazy. Big time accusations. And until we know more, until we know them as fact, until they've been proven with evidence, what are we talking about? What's anybody talking about? As far as the leave little kids alone stuff, this doesn't make it any further from the truth. Leave little children out of your shit. Have a nice day.
Okay, so I'm not in this whole gaming world, as you can probably guess. But apparently one of these big time gamers has been accused of something absolutely terrible. So that's what he's referring to there. I believe it's Dr. Disrespectful. So that's a story that has come out recently that he's referring to there. And initially, I believe he said, let's just wait for more information. But of course, he's always said from day one, leave the kids out of it. And Nick himself is a father, so obviously he has very strong feelings about things pertaining to protecting children, as any parent does. On Father's Day, he said, celebrating Father's Day as a dad and sharing this special day with my own father. Grateful for the bond we share and his guidance throughout the years. Happy Father's Day to all the amazing dads out there. Your example will inspire and shape the future. Lead from the front. So Mr. Beast defended Chris, saying, Ava is literally always with her kid and doesn't even go on shoots to spend more time with him. Tarkman is always smiling. Not sure why this rumour is a thing. His wife no longer has a husband, and his child no longer has a father, because he would rather pursue his degenerate fetish. He betrayed those closest to him who need him most. How convenient. The largest YouTuber with millions of kids that follow him religiously. And behold, after roping in these kids, bam, dude turns trans and Mr. Beast attempts to normalize it. Can you say psyop? Some people are even saying that there's some questionable parenting choices. So one example that somebody gave was the boy, a male child, wearing girls' shoes. You know, so to many, that's seen as a red flag. And the G word was thrown around, for example. Are you trying to make this kid grow up confused? Maybe confused about gender as well? Why are you putting your boy in girls' shoes? So, you know, the kid's name's Tucker, and apparently Chris posted this saying, Tucker chose to slay this morning. But of course there are going to be people who say, it's just shoes, what is the big deal? Kids can pick up and wear whatever they want to wear. They don't think necessarily that this is for girls, this is for boys. They might just like something. And Peter B on X, who's a father of triplets, said the following. This is Mr. Beast's co-host, Chris Tyson. They are also the top show on YouTube for kids. Can you see what's happening? They're coming for your kids. Don't be afraid to call these people out. This dude was married with a kid. Who the hell turns into a woman? Don't feel shame. They need to feel shame. I don't care, and I call it like I see it. Put this thing next to me, and it walks away. What kind of father puts his kid through this for a sick fetish? What do you tell your kids? Leave our kids alone. So this is the way this person dresses. You imagine you're watching a kids show and one of the characters or one of the co-hosts is dressed like this. One of the male co-hosts walking around like this. Not great. Kimberly Klasick. He is the reason my daughter can no longer watch Mr. Beast on YouTube. She's 7 and immediately had a ton of questions after noticing him wearing something girly. And someone said, time to stop playing pretend. This dude is a man and will never be a woman, no matter how hard he pretends. Exactly. It will never not be sad that he traded his beautiful family for a disordered fetish. He abandoned his wife and kid to LARP as a woman. Libs of TikTok. He threw away his life, his poor wife and child. It's a mental illness. It should be treated as such. Instead, leftists celebrate it. And one thing that disturbs me is the posts I have seen of women whose husbands have come out as trans. This is not the first. I've seen numerous cases, and we've even seen some celebrity examples. Married couples where the man decides he wants to come out as trans. Caitlyn Jenner, for example. And the thing that bothers me is the woman is expected to be supportive. The woman is expected to go along with it and even be happy that her husband is now saying that he's a woman. If she's not happy about it, she's a bigot. And I'm seeing these examples where the woman stands by her man, and usually I'm noticing that this happens after pregnancy. After the woman is either, finds out she's pregnant, in some cases, where during pregnancy, the guy is transitioning. Or after she's had the baby and everything, the guy comes out and says he's trans. In some of the cases I've seen. And there's even a theory, this is just a theory, obviously I'm not an expert on this, I'm not a psychiatrist, but there's a theory that the guy waits until the woman's had the baby so that, she feels that she has to keep the family together. Because it just always seems to be after the woman has had the baby. Now, obviously, in the case of Chris Tyson, they ended up divorcing and they're co-parenting. But there are cases where the woman stays with the husband and there's some new type of couple I don't even know. And what's even more disturbing is in some of these cases, the husband seems to be inspired by the wife's look. Essentially, he tries to look like his wife. A very odd case of single white, not female.
One.
So that is when Chris knew he was a man, but now things are a lot different. And someone even said, all the attention is on Chris from Mr. Beast and his transition, but people always seem to forget about the trans widows. While people may feel for his wife and feel bad for her, she has come out in defense of Chris, saying that people like Nick need to be kind and essentially need to mind their business. So we had Jake the Viking, who's part of the Mr. Beast crew, agreeing with Nick, saying, let him know. And Drama Alert said, OG Mr. Beast crew member Jake the Viking agrees with Nickmercs' claims on trans people. So that's interesting. And Chris's ex-wife, Katie, responded with the following. Mine and Tucker's life are both better than ever. Tucker's life is kept relatively private, as much as it can be, solely because of people like you who try to make a headline topic with a 4-year-old's life blasted as a headline. Okay, so the kid is 4. There are plenty of other things in the world to talk about, other than a 4-year-old who will one day see all of this. Imagine having to get introduced to the internet and having all of your life as headline topics. All of his life bashed all over the internet. His life is kept private as much as possible, and not so people like you can create a headline of a life and situation you know nothing about. So next time, please choose a different headline, other than an innocent 4-year-old's life. Our lives are the best they've ever been, and Tucker is loved and cared for by both parents and in both homes, and is thriving. I don't know who Nick is, and I don't care who he is, but as a parent himself, is this the example we want to set for our children? When we don't agree with someone, we bash them, their families, drag others' children through the trenches by spreading false information about their lives. Be better, set better examples. Obviously, the child is still very young. There is no way of knowing how his father, claiming to be a woman, is going to affect him long term. There's no way of knowing for sure. Obviously, we have our ideas, we have our theories, and we can assume what we think is going to happen. Basically, confusion, the father not being the example of a man that a boy would need their father to be. I mean, it's the father who teaches their son how to be a man. And obviously, when the man is now claiming to be a woman, that's not going to happen. So, you know, that masculine role model has been taken away. And now we're telling the child that his father is a woman, which is a lie. So there's consequences of lying to children and giving them a false sense of reality. There's consequences to that. But, you know, they're co-parenting, they're getting on with it. The wife seems to be, as she said there, things are better than ever. So if that's what she's saying, we know dysfunction has an effect on children. We know growing up without a father has an effect on children. Obviously, Chris is very much still a part of his child's life. Some would say that's enough. Others would say, but in what capacity? Certainly not as a traditional father, certainly not as a masculine role model. It's other people's kids too, because a lot of kids watch Mr. Beast. So we have people supporting, you know, this family, people saying, sorry you have to deal with the bloodthirst of people on the internet. Take some guts to speak up. You are an amazing parent, be proud. You and Tucker are both loved, and Tucker is lucky to have 2 such amazing and communicative parents. Chris started it, and then he got a response from Nick. If Chris doesn't want the smoke, then tell him not to post videos of Nick. I feel so bad for you and Tucker. Chris is on a huge show, 289 million subscribers, and Chris is the one who decided to come out as trans, and Chris came out as trans Chris went on the coming out as trans tour. Chris dresses a certain way on the show, posts his photos, dressed in a way that women don't usually dress in everyday life. I don't know any woman who walks around like the picture we saw earlier. So the person drawing attention to this whole thing more than anybody is Chris. And I'm sorry, but if people respond, that's to be expected when you put it out there in the first place. So on the same day, Tyson addressed the community explaining why his ex-wife decided to respond to the controversy. Katie doesn't like being on the internet, but it's gotten to a point where people are using my 4-year-old child as clickbait. So we sat down and discussed how we wanted to address this. I mean, seriously, I just scratched my kid's back for an hour and I have to respond to this. Anyways, trans people can be great parents. Them and their ex-partners can have cordial and healthy co-parenting relationships. And anyone who throws a child into internet drama does give an F about saving kids, or I'm assuming you meant to write doesn't give an F. So there you have it. Again, my main concern is when these men come out as trans, they get called stunning and brave, and the woman is expected to go along with it. The woman doesn't seem to get much sympathy. I mean, a woman is allowed to be disappointed, angry, all of those emotions, confused, feeling that literally her world has fallen apart. She's allowed to have those emotions. But it seems that a lot of these activists think about the woman last when it comes to this situation. In fact, their priority seems to be support for the guy who's turned around and basically bamboozled his wife, thinking that they're going to have a traditional family, married with a child, and then, grow in your family, only to turn around and find out that your husband wants to be you. Very, very disturbing if you ask me. And I think that the wives in this situation deserve more sympathy. They deserve more understanding, more support, because she's the one who has been betrayed, as far as I'm concerned. And don't even get me started on the kids. Apparently, the kids are fine with this. I'm not too sure about that. I'm not too sure that turning around and telling your kid that you are now, the opposite sex. I'm not too sure how a kid is supposed to process that. Because I'm sure it's hard enough for adults to process, especially if they're in a marriage. Very, very odd, very, very confusing. But what's concerning is that a lot of kids are watching this show, and what message is that putting out there? Of course, you're going to get people who say it teaches tolerance. It teaches kids about, people who are different. Others will say, and I would agree with people like Nick, who say, leave the kids out of it. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Comment, like, and subscribe. And God willing, I will see you in the next video.